In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to get your work permit processed. Now, you already know that most Canadian employers would require a valid work permit for you to work in Canada. Now, the type of work permit that you'll be applying for would depend largely on the employment role, the employer, and the employment conditions. In most cases, your spouse or common law partner and your dependent children can come with you when you're coming to Canada on a work permit. They can do this by applying for either an open work permit or a study permit or a visitor's visa, as the case may be. Now, for work visas like the Global Talent Stream program, which enables employers to employ foreign workers for job positions that they have available, your spouse or common law partner and your children can get their visas processed within 14 days. By the end of this video, you should be able to know all about the Canadian work permit process for 2023 and beyond, who can apply with you, 3, the visa fee and the biometric fee that you need to pay for this visa, 4, the processing time that is involved in processing this visa, 5, the various types of work permits that we have, 6, how to apply from outside Canada, 7, how to apply from inside Canada, 8, if your family members can come with you on this journey. Now, you want to watch this video to the very end so that you don't miss out on any of this information. Now, let's quickly talk about the types of work permits that are available. Now, we have the closed work permit, which is otherwise called an employer-specific work permit. Now, for this type of work permit, the foreign worker or the employee holding this work permit must work for the same employer at the same location, except if they change their work permits. You must understand that an employer-specific work permit or a closed work permit allows you to work according to the employer-specific conditions set, such as the name of the employer, the location of the employment, and how long you can work for that particular employer. Now, let's talk about the documents you need for the closed work permit. The first thing you need is the employment contract. You need the employment contract from the employer who is giving you the closed work permit. The second thing you need is an LMIA, a labor market impact assessment. Now, that employer also needs to give you an LMIA document. Or in the case where the job is an LMIA exempt job, there are some jobs, okay, that are LMIA exempt, okay. If that is the case, then the employer needs to give you an employment number. This number can be found on the employer portal. The employer portal is a portal that is used by employers who are hiring foreign workers under the International Mobility Program. Now, let's talk about the open work permits. Now, the open work permits, for the open work permits, you are allowed to work for any employer in Canada, except for certain kind of employers. One of such employers are not allowed to work for are employers who are listed as ineligible under the list of employers failing to comply to certain conditions. This list can be found in the IRCC portal. I'm going to leave the link of that list in the description box below. Now, the second employer I'm not supposed to work for are employers who offer striptease, erotic dances, erotic massages, or erotic services. You must also understand that you can only get an open work permit under certain conditions. One of the ways you can get an open work permit is if you have a postgraduate work permit after studying in Canada. The second way you can get an open work permit is if you have an employer-specific work permit, which is a closed work permit, but you are being abused by the employer or at risk of being abused by that employer. You can apply to get an open work permit. The third way you can get an open work permit is if you have applied for PR while you are in Canada, waiting for your PR application to be approved. The fourth way you can get an open work permit is if you are a dependent family member of someone who has applied for a permanent residence application and is waiting for the application to be approved. If you watch this video to this very time and you're getting value, guys, please click on the like button. Support my channel. That's one way to support my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now, let's talk about who can come with you when you're coming on this journey. Your spouse or your common law partner and your dependent children can come with you while you're coming to Canada on this journey. And they can do this through an open work permit, which means that your spouse can get an open work permit, your children can get study permits or visitor's visas, as the case may be. Now, let's run through the requirements and the eligibility criteria. Now, for those who are applying for work permits from inside Canada, for you to apply for work permit from inside Canada, you must have a valid work permit or a study permit. The second eligibility criteria is that your spouse or common law partner or your parents must also have a valid work permit or study permit. The third way you can apply from inside Canada is that you must be eligible for postgraduate work permits while your study permit is not yet expired. The fourth way you can apply from inside Canada is that you must have a temporary resident permit that is at least 6 months valid. The fifth way you can apply from inside Canada is that you must be waiting for a permanent residency application that you have filed. Now, while the application is still going on, while the processing is still going on, you can file for an open work permit. The sixth way is that you must have made a claim for refugee protection, okay? The seventh way is that you must have been recognized as a convention refugee or a protected person by the Immigration Refugee Board. Now, let's talk about how to apply from outside Canada. Okay, now the first thing you want to do is that you must be able to prove to the visa officer that you would leave Canada with your family at the expiration of your visa. Now, this is not necessarily the case because before your work permit expires, if you have not gotten your permanent residence at that time, you can apply for a work permit extension to allow you stay freely and work in Canada for an extended period of time. Second eligibility criteria for people applying from outside Canada is that you must be able to show good proof of funds, that you are able to take care of your family while you are in Canada. The third eligibility criteria for those outside Canada is that you must obey and abide by the law and have no criminal activity. This you can prove by a police character report from your home country. The fourth one is that you must not pose a threat to the security of Canada. The fifth one is that you must prove to be in good health at the point of application. This will be done by a medical report. Usually, before your visa can be approved, while it is processing, they would request for a medical report to show that you are medically admissible to Canada. The sixth eligibility criteria is that you must not plan to work for any of the ineligible employers that I showed you in the list before now. The last one is that you would also need to provide the visa officer with every document that you feel will aid your application and make it approved. These additional documents would enable the visa officer to see that you are not a risk to Canada and that you'll be able to go back to your country because you have strong ties to your home country. Now let's talk about how to apply. Now, how do you apply? For those inside Canada, the first thing is that you need to apply online through the IRCC portal. Now, when you go online and you make the necessary selections applying to your own particular situation, you will get an instruction guide that gives you an instruction on how to fill out each portion of the form, until you get to the very end. Once you have filled out all the forms and you are able to pay your application fees, you can then scan all the supporting documents which you are using to support your application to make the application tight and submit them alongside your application. This makes your application complete. You have no reason to worry at this point because the instruction guide will show you everything you need to do till you get to the very end of the application. Now, for those applying from outside Canada, you still have to go through the same process, okay? Now, you need to apply through the IRCC website as well. The only difference here is that you will need to select from where you are applying from. Okay, you need to make a choice of the country you are applying from. Because I'm Nigerian, I'm going to use Nigeria. Let's say I'm applying from Nigeria. Once I impute Nigeria, there's going to be an instruction guide on what I'm going to be doing from the very beginning, everything I need to do, the supporting documents I need to, to attach, and how I need to fill out the application form will be shown to me until I get to the very end of the application. Now, there are certain things I want you to remember. Okay, for this application process, there are certain fees you need to pay, and you must take note of these fees. The standard work permit fee is $155. This has to be paid by whoever is applying for work permit in Canada. And note also that this fee is non-refundable, whether your application is approved or not. The second fee you'll be paying is the biometric fee. Now, a biometric fee of $85 will be paid per person on the application process. The third thing you must take note of is the processing time. Now, depending on the country where you are applying from. Now, the processing time varies from country to country. For Nigeria, it is 11 weeks as at today. Also note that if your temporary residence status has expired at the point when you are applying for a work permit, you will have to pay for the standard work permit fee, which is $155. And you also pay for a fee to restore your temporary status, which is $200. So in other words, you are paying $155 plus $200 to restore your temporary residence status, which is about $355. So in other words, guys, it is better to apply for work permit before your status, your temporary status expires. Do not allow your status to expire before applying for a work permit visa or an extension. For open work permits, the fee for the open work permit is $100, right? You need to pay $100. Then you also need to pay the standard fee for work permit, which is $155. So you are paying $255 in total for open work permit. Now, guys, this is all you need to know about how the work permit process goes, okay? I hope that this video has showed you how you can do this on your own without the help of an agent, a lawyer, or a consultant. For those of you that have been asking me, how do I go about the process? This is all you need to know. In case you are wondering what documents you need to attach to your work permit for you to fly, for you to make it tight, for you to make it good, look attractive to the visa officer, I did a video on important documents that needs to go with your work permit application. You might want to watch it next.